Hi, everybody. As Karina said, my name is Kevin Doolan and I'm the Director of Innovation in the Telecommunications Software and Systems Group. Just a very quick one on what TSSG is. We're an international research centre established in WIT in 1997. It's co-directed by myself and my colleague Sazitharan Balasubramaniam. We've over 90 staff and we're 100% self-funded, so essentially we're continuously writing calls for project proposals to secure funding. I suppose we're an organisation that makes enabling technologies like communication systems, machine learning and AI and so on. We apply those then to different verticals, excuse me, such as ag tech. You can see some of our numbers here. We've raised over 120 million since we were founded. We've over 21 PhDs graduated, over 150 peer-reviewed publications. But more importantly, we've a global network of over 700 partners and customers worldwide that we engage with. But to move on to the agriculture side, and I know Patrick has touched on this a little bit around the CAP. There are certain issues, though, with digitalization of the farming sector in rural areas that still need to be overcome, and this is why the European Commission, for example, is funding projects in that regard. Infrastructure and connectivity is a key issue. You know, these systems are only as smart as the amount of data we can push through them. That's why, you know, broadband and 5G and 6G are actually very critical. Farmers' awareness about benefits and skills, Ethan has touched on that already. Standardization and interoperability of systems is crucial as well, and I'll talk about that with regards to one of our projects in a minute. Also, data ownership and financing investments is there are other bottlenecks that are in the system. And there's potential risks there as well in terms of the digital divide, and we've seen it certainly in some of our larger projects that, you know, often larger scale farms and organizations have the resources and the funding to push a lot of high tech in place, whereas smaller farms may not, and that just increases the digital divide, which is not what we want to happen. And of course, this can create an impact on jobs as well, you know, as technology takes over. So we always need to take that into account, as well as the overall socioeconomic impact. But some of the key things related to the work we do is around digitalization of agriculture to support the digital single market, dealing with precision agriculture, looking at climate change, ecosystem degradation, and policy support. And just on the left here, I've shown just a couple of the names of the projects I'm going to talk about very quickly. Just lastly, in terms of the role of TSSG, we play multiple roles. Like nationally, we're part of the Foodwise 2030 strategy. We ran a panel on that recently in Dublin. We can be seen as an entry point for organizations wanting to access Horizon 2020, or Horizon Europe and Digital Europe, which are coming down the road. We have the Vista Milk Centre, and we've got PACE, which I know Hazel's going to talk about a little bit later. In terms of our European reach, we've represented Ireland in workshops around Germany and Ireland collaboration across ag tech. I'm part of the working group for the AI and agriculture strategy and the digitalization of agri and rural economies strategy in the EU. We try and foster a lot of project collaboration, and we'll be having a webinar around that in June, so keep an eye on our social media. As I said before, we're always writing project proposals. So at the moment, Hazel and I and a few others are working on a proposal towards digitalization of rural economies. And this is everything rural except agriculture. Internationally as well, we've been I've gone to the Forbes Ag Tech Summit in California, and just last Friday I was part of the EU-Brazil cooperation strategy webinar, where we're trying to bring, I suppose, the best-in-class research from Europe and Brazil together to start collaborating a little bit more. I'm going to talk very briefly about our projects. Demeter is the first one. It's a large-scale project that I'm coordinating in TSSG, and Ethan and Patrick mentioned this already. It's a 60-partner project involving 18 different countries. And essentially, it's about digitalization of the agri-tech supply chain from farm to fork. The problem it's trying to solve is that all these different ag-tech systems more often than not don't actually talk to each other. So while they all might perform their individual roles very well, the communication across the supply chain isn't there. And that's what Demeter is trying to solve at a data level, essentially. So we're going to build a platform, open source platform with a suite of technologies there, and then trial it in a number of pilots, 20 different pilots across Europe, involving about 6,000 farmers. Importantly, we've got the World Farmers Organization involved there as a partner, and they're going to disseminate out to, they say, 1.5 billion people in the ag tech community globally. Just very briefly to touch on some of the pilots, and you can get a lot of this information on the Demeter website. We're looking at water and energy management, we're looking at precision farming, we're looking at how to manage healthy and high quality crops. On the dairy side, we're looking at high quality milk production and animal health. And then we've kind of got a cross-sectoral full supply chain set of pilots as well. Another project that we're involved with is about modernization of the CAP, and it's a project called NEVA. And essentially, this is about digitalization of the Common Agricultural Policy itself. So it has 18 different payment agencies from across Europe coming together to look at different digital systems they can put in place to ease compliance with the CAP, essentially. Within that, TSSG is looking at data management across the different payment agencies. And also we're developing software to facilitate farmers to adhere to and report on their land parcel management. Smart Agri Hubs is another large-scale project, and I know Hazel's going to talk about it, so I'm going to skip over it. And Agrobo Food is very similar. It's a collection of digital innovation hubs in the robotics space related to agriculture. And again, as there's open calls mentioned there, I'm going to let Hazel talk about that when she's doing her presentation a little bit later. I suppose the key takeaways between Smart Agri Hubs and Agrobo Food, TSSG has our hands on about 14 million euro worth of open call funding that we can help companies to try and secure. So we know precision agriculture is happening. The issue is that another issue is that it requires a huge amount of computing power to fully realize its vision. And that's where high performance computing comes into play. The issue there, though, is that high performance computing facilities are broadly inaccessible at the moment. They're extremely expensive, and there's limited expertise in everything that you can do with HPC around big data and data mining, artificial intelligence, providing access to sensors and processing the data coming from those sensors. So funnily enough, we have a project, another large-scale project called Sibella, which is about making HPC systems more accessible and providing a faster time to market for different HPC solutions. And within that, we have focused on precision agriculture and precision livestock farming as well. So for example, pig weighing optimization. So you can get more details on Sibella on our project website as well. And I know Hazel's going to talk a little bit about open calls and cascade funding. So I just want to show you the type of project that you could get funded using cascade funds. So this is one that TSSG applied for through another European project called the Internet of Farm and Food 2020. And it's called MELD, and it's about early lameness detection through machine learning. So it's using sensor data to detect when an animal is about to become lame using data analytics. We're currently undergoing trials for this in Portugal, Israel, and South Africa, looking at around 2,000 cattle. Some of the earlier results of the project showed we could detect lameness in cattle about 3 days in advance of when you could notice it visually as a farmer. So it's a substantial result, and the project is ongoing. In terms of funding, it was like, I think it was about a 15-page proposal. It's very competitive, but a 15-page proposal for about €250,000 in funding. So it's an extremely good deal, these cascade funds that Hazel's going to talk to you about. And that's it. I'm 30 seconds short of the 10 minutes. That's my contact details if anyone wants to follow up.